This state is growing faster than almost anywhere else in America. Every day, thousands of people pack up their lives and move here. But there's something nobody tells you before they arrive. Florida is not just a destination. It's a collision between wealth and poverty, retirement dreams and rising prices, paradise beaches and inland towns struggling to survive, a place where one street feels like vacation and the next feels like a different tree entirely. On paper, Florida looks like a success story. No state income tax, warm weather year-round, endless coastline, a booming real estate market, and cities that seem to be expanding overnight. But reality is more complicated, because while some people are getting rich here, others are quietly leaving. And the question is not just, why do people move to Florida? The real question is, who is Florida really for now? And who is getting pushed out? Stay with me, because what you'll see across this state is not just growth, but transformation. And in some places, something much more uncomfortable. Part 2. First impression. When you first arrive in Florida, it feels like a relief. The air is warm. The light is different, softer, almost cinematic. Palm trees line the highways like you've entered a permanent vacation. In cities like Miami, everything feels fast, international, almost unreal. Luxury towers rise above the water. Expensive cars move slowly through traffic. Spanish, English, and dozens of other languages blend into one constant hum. Drive north, and things change. Orlando feels like a machine built for tourism. Theme parks, hotels, endless development. A city that never really stops working. Head further inland, and you'll find a different Florida. Smaller towns, older neighborhoods, places where time moves slower, but opportunities do too. Long stretches of highway cut through flatland, lakes, and forgotten communities. And then there's the coast. Clear water, white sand. Beach towns that feel like postcards, until you look at housing prices. Because even here, paradise comes with a price tag that didn't exist a decade ago. Florida doesn't feel like one state. It feels like several states layered on top of each other. And they don't always agree with each other. Part 3. The good side. So why do people keep moving here? The answer starts with money. No state income tax. That alone changes everything for retirees, remote workers, and business owners. What you earn is what you keep. Then there's housing, at least historically. For years, Florida offered something rare in America: relatively affordable homes near the ocean, or at least within driving distance of it. Retirees saw opportunity. Families saw escape. Young professionals saw flexibility. And then there's lifestyle. You can wake up and be on the beach in under an hour almost anywhere in the state. Fishing, boating, golf, outdoor living, it's not an activity here, it's a way of life. Healthcare infrastructure has also expanded significantly, especially in retirement-heavy regions. Entire communities are designed around senior living and jobs. Tourism, logistics, construction, healthcare, and increasingly tech and finance hubs in cities like Miami and Tampa have created a diversified economy that didn't exist at this scale before. On the surface, Florida feels like freedom. Freedom from cold winters, freedom from certain taxes, freedom from the constraints of traditional big city life. But freedom always has a second side. And in Florida, that second side is becoming harder to ignore. Part 4. The hidden side. Because while people are arriving, something else is happening at the same time. Prices are rising, fast. In many parts of Florida, home prices have doubled or even tripled in less than a decade. Rent in cities like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando has climbed to levels that surprise even longtime residents. And it's not just housing. Insurance is becoming a major crisis. Home insurance in Florida is among the highest in the country, driven by hurricanes, flooding risk, and instability in the insurance market itself. In some areas, People are finding it harder just to keep their homes protected. Then there's climate pressure. Hurricanes are not new to Florida, but their financial impact is growing. Stronger storms, higher rebuilding costs, and repeated damage cycles are changing how people think about long-term settlement. And inland Florida tells another story. Smaller towns are struggling to keep up with rapid growth in metro areas. Young people often leave for bigger cities. Infrastructure in some regions is still catching up with population increases. And beneath all of this is a quiet tension. Florida is becoming a magnet for two very different groups: those seeking affordability and freedom, and those who are priced out of everywhere else. That combination creates pressure. And pressure changes places. Part 5. The most interesting places. To understand Florida, you have to move through it slowly. Start in Miami, a global city, not just American anymore in feel. Luxury real estate lines the coast like a vertical wall. Billion-dollar deals happen quietly behind glass towers. But just blocks away, older neighborhoods tell a different story, one of rising rent, cultural change, and displacement. Then there's Tampa, one of Florida's fastest-growing metros, a place where finance, healthcare, and tech are quietly expanding. Downtown redevelopment is changing the skyline. But growth here comes with congestion, rising prices, and infrastructure strain. Orlando is something else entirely, a city built on tourism. But behind the theme parks is a massive working-class economy. Service workers, logistics, and housing developments stretching farther and farther into former wilderness. Now go inland. Places like Lakeland, Ocala, and parts of central Florida show a different rhythm. Slower growth, more space, lower prices, at least for now. These are the places many people are moving to when coastal cities become too expensive. And then there are the forgotten corners. Small towns where main streets are half empty, where the economy never fully recovered from earlier industrial shifts, where life is quiet, but opportunity is limited. Finally, the coast beyond the headlines. Panhandle towns with white sand beaches that rival the Caribbean, retirement communities that function like small cities, and fishing towns that still operate on older rhythms of work and weather. Florida is not one story. It is many stories happening at the same time. Part 6. Die Numbers. Now let's talk about what's really driving everything. Florida's population continues to grow by hundreds of thousands of people over recent years, making it one of the fastest-growing states in the country. But growth is not evenly distributed. Some metro areas are expanding rapidly, while others remain stable or even decline slightly. Home prices in major cities have surged significantly compared to pre-pandemic levels. In some coastal regions, median prices are now out of reach for middle-class buyers without significant equity or remote income. Rent follows the same trend. In cities like Miami and Orlando, rent increases have outpaced wage growth, creating affordability pressure even for full-time workers. Income levels vary widely. High-income newcomers are reshaping parts of the market, while long-time residents often face rising costs without matching income increases. Unemployment in Florida has generally remained relatively low compared to national averages, but that doesn't fully reflect underemployment in tourism-heavy regions. And migration tells the real story. Florida consistently ranks among the top destinations for domestic relocation in the United States. But here's the key detail. Many of the people moving in are not just seeking opportunity, they are seeking escape from other expensive states. That changes the entire economic structure of the housing market. Because when demand is driven by relocation pressure, prices don't stabilize easily. They accelerate. Part 7. Die Future. So where is Florida heading? The answer depends on which Florida you're talking about. In major metro areas, the trajectory is clear: continued growth, continued development, and continued pressure on housing and infrastructure. Miami is becoming more global, more expensive, and more competitive. Tampa is evolving into a diversified economic hub. Orlando continues expanding outward in every direction. But inland Florida may follow a different path. Some areas will grow as spillover regions for expensive cities. Others may struggle with stagnation if investment doesn't follow population shifts. Climate risk will also play a larger role. Insurance markets, construction standards, and long-term planning will increasingly shape where people choose to live. And then there's the deeper question. Can Florida remain affordable while continuing to attract so many new residents? Or does growth eventually price out the very people who built its communities? Because every migration wave changes a place, and Florida has been experiencing one of the largest internal migration waves in modern American history. That always leaves a mark. Part 8. Conclusion. Florida is not a simple success story. It is not a simple warning either. It is something in between. A state of constant arrival and constant adjustment, a place where dreams are built quickly but sometimes at a cost that only becomes visible later. For some, Florida is freedom. For others, it is pressure. For many, it is both at the same time, and maybe that's the real story. Not whether Florida is good or bad, but whether it can continue balancing what it is becoming. So the question is not just about Florida. The question is about change itself. Would you move here? Or would you watch it change from somewhere else? And more importantly, is Florida still the land of opportunity? Or is it becoming something entirely different?